In my worldview, food certainly plays a role, hopefully, in bringing some kind of enlightenment and understanding and openness and appreciation of other cultures. I loathe, in principle, the idea of adhering to any orthodoxy or strict belief system, because my travels have shown me, as I move from place to place, that what I thought yesterday is, in fact, completely wrong again and again. Predictability, that sense of security, a brand. I hate all of that.
Perhaps the greatest lesson travel has to offer isn't discovering new places, but discovering the limits of our own perspective. Every unfamiliar street, shared meal, and conversation offered Anthony Bourdain the chance to challenge his assumptions and embrace the unexpected. The more he experienced different cultures, the less he believed in rigid beliefs and fixed identities. In a world increasingly divided by certainty, Bourdain chose curiosity.
I've been to a lot of places that I'm not supposed to have a great time in, but I mean, we had a lovely time in Tehran. We were treated very, very, very well, just as random Americans, ordinary people in the street were very welcoming to us. So, a country is not necessarily its government, or the people are not necessarily the people in charge, as we found in places like Iran, where we were treated overwhelmingly with great generosity and kindness. I'm not going to say that mitigates the behavior of the government at all, or their policies, but what we find on the ground is often completely at odds with our expectations and the picture that we may have received from the news and the newspapers.
Rather than allowing narratives to define entire nations, Bourdain chose to have ordinary conversations with ordinary people. He asked simple questions, which often uncovered truths far deeper than any headlines.
I think it's a very personal thing. People tend to be proud of their food. They let their guard down when they talk to you. You see them at their most vulnerable and revealing in a lot of ways. So even people with whom you have really fundamental disagreements and maybe even complete different belief systems, if you're going to intersect anywhere, it's going to be over food and how open you are to receiving that food and receiving whatever intent was behind it. I've gotten along with people everywhere in this world and heard some incredible stories, largely because I sit down without an agenda and just ask the very simple question: what's for dinner? What makes you happy?
Nothing more political than food. That's just what people are eating. That's political. Why do people eat what they eat? I mean, Fez, Morocco, it's all siege food. Okay, it's a walled city. People grow things within their high-walled homes. It's food design, a lot of preserved food, a lot of dried food, an entire cuisine based on very hard realities in the past of the possible, if not probable, necessity of walling yourself into your home or your city for extended periods of time and waiting for your enemies to die of starvation or, typhus or whatever. A lot of the things people eat reflect those difficult times, difficult histories, invasion, mix of cultures, often, not a friendly mix at first. Also, I use the example of Egyptian food as an example of why food's so important. When we shot in Egypt, this was before the Arab Spring, our fixers were very cool with us, our translators. You have to understand, in a country like Egypt, if you're shooting television, your driver is not just a driver. He probably works for the secret police. He works for the Mukhbarat, the Interior Ministry or whatever. And a lot of your crew guys their job is to keep an eye on you, or if possible, to try to keep you away from military installation or shooting bets on. Everybody was super cool there, except totally said, we want to shoot fool, which is this watery chickpea dish served with a big stack of flatbread that much of the population, just about everybody in the morning in Cairo, has for breakfast. It's the big meal of the day. So it's everywhere, these stands. It's like the hot dog of Cairo. You want to shoot food? No, this is not interesting. You don't want to shoot this. Oh no, we do. This is exactly what we do. No, it's not good. It's not proper. You don't want to do it. Eventually, it's absolutely forbidden. One of the producers feigned an attack of diarrhea and managed to draw away the secret police the embedded problem people, and we shot it. What was it they were so terrified of? What was the big deal? It wasn't, we only realized later, that it was the very fact that everybody eats it. And that's all they eat, a lot of the people in Cairo. That's what for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You get fool and more importantly, bread. And there have been bread riots recently in other parts of the country. The army owned all of the mills, or at least I think the flour supply. And I think they weren't concerned about Americans seeing it and Europeans seeing it. I think they were very aware of the fact that the show's being back into Egypt, and that Egyptian audiences would see, people eating, there's the France show, and then, holy shit, look at us, eating bread and watery beans. And that's what the fear was. And I think they were well aware of how tenuous the system was at that time, and that, that was exactly this, the hell with military installations, this everyday reality that much of our population are eating this or something close to this. They recognized it as dangerous information. We were clueless. It's like, what's the big deal? And then again, people are just intensely connected to food. It's personal. They're telling you something very intimate about themselves when they offer you something that they like. They're saying, this is what I like. This is where I come from, what my grandma used to make me, what I eat when I'm drunk and letting go. And so that's a really important moment in any conversation, whether you're going to eat that. My job is to be a good guest and accept it without, screwing up my face and going, our relationship has just changed. If you offer me your mom's meatloaf, and I'm like, no. There's a lot we're not going to be saying to each other now. You're not going to be telling me, intimate things about grandma anymore. I'll just reject her meatloaf.
The same curiosity that shaped Bourdain's travels shaped the way he told stories. Rather than forcing every episode into a familiar formula, he embraced uncertainty. He took the audience on the same unpredictable journey as his own travels. While other shows relied on repetition, Bourdain engaged with his audience through the thrill of discovery.
All those smart things that you're supposed to do, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we understand. TV demands you fill everything up with noise. We literally have an internal contest. How long can we go in a sequence without any dialogue at all? No VO, nobody speaking, just total silence, maybe music in the background. I think we're up to 3.5 minutes. You're not allowed to do that on TV. People don't like that. Sponsors don't like it. You're supposed to tease out, We just saw, Adam eat the world's largest hamburger. When we come back, he's going to eat the world's largest bacon, BLT. We don't do that either. The sum up, the idea, to me, it's mortifying watching any show. And I'm sure we've all experienced this. You're 10 minutes in and you can see the hideous, predictable trajectory of an arc. You know that 7 minutes before the hour, we're gonna start reaching we're gonna chase the characters up the tree, we're gonna reach some kind of resolution, and then we're gonna tail off into a nice happy horseshit sum up. We don't like that. We hate it. We despise it. I hate competent television. I would much rather, we have this argument, like Lydia knows this well. It's like, I really hate this show. This episode is like just really competent. It's
He
efficient.
actually sent me that email 2 weeks ago. It's a good show. It's competent. It's like the
kiss of death.
I'd rather it's just a hideous, self-indulgent failure, because at least they're trying to do something, different. Predictability, that sense of security, a brand. I hate all of that.